Hey guys, welcome back for another video. We got a good one prepared today. What we're going to be doing is we'll be looking over every single matchup for Week 13 of the 2024 NFL football season. We're going to completely break down every single game, try to predict the outcome, who's going to win, who's going to lose, and what the final score will be. We'll also touch on the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below and I will respond. Every week we go over every single NFL game. We also do the same thing for every college football game as well. If you're a football fan, if you're a sports fan in general, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can follow along with us this season. So we have Week 13 coming up. It is Thanksgiving weekend. We are actually going to have 3 Thursday games, 1 Friday game, and our typical Sunday and Monday games. But let's go ahead and kick things off. The very first one we have, one of our Thursday Thanksgiving Day matchups. There's going to be some good football on Thanksgiving this season. On CBS at 12:30 p.m., 4-7 Chicago Bears. The Bears just can't get things right this season. Since the Hail Mary loss, they've completely fallen off the tracks. The offense is looking a little better. They did go to overtime this past weekend, but Caleb Williams, you cannot hold the ball that long. They'll be playing the 10-1 Detroit Lions. If you want to get things right, you definitely don't want to have to face the Lions. It's going to be really hard to end the losing streak versus the best team in the NFL so far through the first 13 weeks. Right now, the Lions have a 76.2% chance to win this game. They are 10-point favorites. The over here is 48.5 Chicago. They're averaging 21.1 points a game. Caleb Williams closing on 2,400 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 picks. The offensive line was buying him a little more time this weekend, but he took advantage of that, held the ball just a little too long, but as long as the offensive line holds up, that's going to allow him to find those targets down the field. Odunze, Moore, Allen. He has the weapons. He just has to consistently push that ball. Right now, they're throwing for 187. They're running for 112. They're only giving up 19.7 points a game. They do have a very good defense. Defense does travel on the road. But the Lions, they are a juggernaut, the number 1 offense in the NFL. Right now, they have a top 5 defense, the most rounded team in the NFL. They're averaging 32.7 points a game. Jared Goff is back to 2023 form. They are throwing for 243.5, running for 150.8, and they're only giving up 16.6 points a game. That's without Hutchinson. This team is aggressive, top 10 in tackles for loss, sacks, turnovers, very good defense, and extremely good offense. They are loaded at the skill position. They have Gibbs, Montgomery, St. Brown, multiple ways they can beat you. Passing the ball, running the ball. They can beat you with their defense. They're at home. You could say they're due for a loss because they have a really long winning streak. I don't know that the Bears can give it to them, but the Bears do have a good defense, and they are due to get a win at some point. But I have the Lions winning this one 28-17. And our next Thanksgiving matchup is one of our rivalry games at 4:30 p.m. on Fox. The 2-9 New York Giants versus the 4-7 Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys 52.6% chance to win this game. 3.5-point favorites. The over here is 37.5. What about the Cowboys coming off of an upset win? Props to them. They were able to rally the wagons here, get the team back on track. They don't have Dak. More than likely, it's going to be Cooper Rush for the Giants. Lot of issues going on. Daboll might be getting fired once the season ends. Tommy DeVito lit a spark under them at the end of last season. Can he try to do that this season? Try to get them to have a pretty decent second half. That's a tall ask for him. They do not have a very good offense at all. They don't have a bad defense. They have a serviceable defense, but they get wore out. They're on the field the entire game. Right now, the Giants, they're only averaging 14.8 points a game. One of the worst offenses, if not the worst offense in the NFL. They're throwing for 188. They're running for 115.9. They're giving up 22.9 points a game. Dallas has a lot of issues. Let's call it what it is. They can't run the ball. The offensive line has a lot of issues. They have one of the worst defenses in the nation. Right now, they're averaging 20.1, throwing for 240.6, only running for 82.5. Dowdle did have a pretty decent game this past weekend, but one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL. Their strength used to be the O-line, run game, defense. All 3 of those things are currently their weaknesses. They're giving up 29 points a game. That's second worst in the NFL. Way too much talent on this team to be giving up that many points. Looking at the skill positions for the Giants, they have Tracy Jr., they have Neighbors. Neighbors is a legitimate number 1, but he needs someone who can consistently feed him the ball. And looking at the Cowboys, they have Dowdle, who's only averaging about 30 to 40 rushing yards per game. They have CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is a legit wide receiver number 1, but he cannot carry this entire team on his back. But the Cowboys showed they still have fight in them. They haven't thrown in the towel. They're not going anywhere this season, but they still have their pride to play for.
The Cowboys.
This one, 23-16. And this next one's an under-the-radar fun one on NBC at 8:20 p.m., 5-6, the Miami Dolphins versus the 8-3 Green Bay Packers. Both of these teams are kind of cruising right now. The Dolphins, don't judge them by their 5-6 records. They didn't have Tua for about 3 to 4 games. Right now, they're riding a 3-game winning streak, slowly chipping their way back to 500. The offense is clicking on all cylinders currently. If they win this game, they are back to 500. They have that to play for, positioning themselves potentially to be back in the playoff race. But the Packers are cruising. But Jordan Love has to play a clean game here. Right now, the Packers 66.3% chance to win this game, 3.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 46.5. Right now for the Dolphins, Tua, he's closing in on 1,800 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 picks. They're averaging 19.5, but obviously their offense is a lot better than that. But that number's low because they didn't have Tua for 3 to 4 games. They're throwing for 207. They're running for 116.8. Their defense looked really good this past weekend, but it was the Patriots. You don't want to look too much into that game, but they've been playing pretty solid for probably the last 2 to 3 weeks. They are giving up 21.5 points a game. One of the better rush defenses in the NFL, only giving up 106.9 on the ground. For the Packers, they're averaging 26.2. Obviously, this is a top 10 offense. They're throwing for 230.7, running for 151.6. Very balanced offense, and they also have the defense. They're at home, giving up 20.3 points a game. Jordan Love is closing in on 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, 11 picks. He's got to keep those turnovers down. He has to have a clean game here. They have a really good team. They have a really good ground game. They have Jacobs. They have Reed. Miami's offensive roster obviously loaded. Waddle, Hill, Berrios, Beckham, Achin, Mostert. Multiple weapons, multiple ways they can beat you throwing and running the ball. The big question here is the weather. It's going to be freezing cold here. We know Tua's from Hawaii. He plays in Miami. He's not a cold weather quarterback. He's never played well in below freezing temperatures. It's going to be below freezing here. So a lot of people are picking the Dolphins to drop this one. I'm just going to go out, just completely throw out there, go out on a ledge. I have the Fins getting the upset, winning this one 24-23. Watch this game. This is a game that could go either way. Would not surprise me if the Packers pull it out. They are the favorites. They are at home, but I do think they've had a couple one-possession wins here, a couple sloppy games, still a very good team. They might be due for the loss. I think the Dolphins might be able to pull it off on the road. Confidence level's low in that, but I'm going to call upset. And then at 3 p.m. on Prime Video, the 2-9 Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders aren't good at anything. They don't have a good offense. They don't have a good defense. They are shuffling quarterbacks. It's been O'Connell. It's been Minshew. Supposedly Desmond Ridder will be getting the starting nod here, and he has to face the Chiefs defense. That's a tall ask for him. Right now, the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champs, they have a 10-1 record, 76.3% chance to win this game, 12.5-point favorites, massive spread. The over-under's 42.5. The Raiders are averaging 18.7, throwing for 218. The worst rushing team in the country, just a little worse than the Cowboys. They're only running for 74.6. They're giving up 28.5 points a game. A awful, pathetic defense. They're going to give up points here. Chiefs are starting to get healthy. They haven't had the best offense this season. They've had a lot of turnovers, but they're starting to get a lot of their star players back. They're averaging 24.5 points a game. Patrick Mahomes closing in on 2,700 yards, 18 touchdowns, 11 picks. He's playing a lot better the last few games, especially since the Bills game. Keep those turnovers down. This is a veteran team. You know when they need to turn it on, they will turn it on, but it's their defense making the difference. They're giving up 19.8 points a game, only 85.3 yards on the ground. What their defense does, they suffocate the line of scrimmage. They get pressure. They get turnovers. They get turnovers on the plus side. They get turnovers on the other team side of the field, giving their offense the short field. That's why they're able to consistently move the ball. This is a Super Bowl caliber defense, and the offense is starting to get healthy. Hunt, Pacheco, Kelsey, Worthy, they're getting their guys back. I have the Chiefs cruising here, winning this one 28-15. And then we're now moving on to our Sunday games on Fox at 1 p.m. The 7-6 Houston Texans. They've been playing some pretty sloppy football the last few weeks, but they're due to be getting things back on track. Nico Collins is back. When he's healthy, he's a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. When he went down, he was actually leading the NFL in receiving yards. He's back. He's healthy. They don't have Diggs, so Stroud is going to be pushing the ball a lot to Collins. They'll be playing the 2-9 Jacksonville Jaguars. If you had to play a team to get things back on track, you'd probably want to play the Jaguars right now. They have a 64.4% chance to win this game. 5-point favorites. The over-under here is 43.5 for Houston. Stroud, He's the leading quarterback. He's going to be pushing the ball to Collins, averaging 23.8, throwing for 221.4, running for 114.6. Their defense is giving up 22.3 points a game. They need to play time of possession football, get the offense back to being efficient consistently throughout 4 quarters of the game. Right now, Jacksonville, we don't have a full status on Trevor Lawrence. He's probably not going to play here. I don't know that it necessarily matters. Right now, they're averaging 18.9, throwing for 189.2, running for 101.6, but it's that defense giving up 28.7 points a game, a bottom 3 defense in the NFL. They give up 278.3 passing yards per game. The Texans are going to love that. There's going to be multiple guys open down the field. Look for Stroud to be hitting deep passes this game. There's going to be guys wide open down there, but you do have a good run game. You do have Mixon. Let him establish the run game, open up the play action, hit Collins. And for the Jags, they don't have a bad wide receiver core. They don't have a bad offense, but they need a quarterback who's not going to turn the ball over, and Trevor Lawrence is banged up. I have Houston win this one 27-17. And then on Fox at 1 p.m., the 6-5 Arizona Cardinals. They're having a really good season this season so far. Props to them. Props to Kyler Murray playing really smart football. They'll be playing the 9-2 Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are cruising right now. They've had a couple close wins this past few weeks, but hey, don't apologize for a win. They consistently keep pulling the games off. They have a 58.5% chance to win this game. They are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 45.5 for Arizona. They're averaging 22.2 points a game, but it's what Kyler Murray can do throwing the ball and run the ball. Right now he's closing in on 2,400 yards. He has 16 total touchdowns. He can extend plays with his legs. If you flush him out the pocket, he can scramble for the first down, but he's always keeping his eyes down the field looking for those targets. They're throwing for 201.7, running for 140.3. They're giving up 21.5 points a game. Their pass rush is much improved over last season. They have James Conner, and they have McBride, and they have Marvin Harrison Jr. when he's fully healthy. And for Minnesota, they're averaging 24.9 points a game. Sam Darnold, he's kept the turnovers down the last few games, but he did kind of go through a little turnover streak there. As long as he plays smart, protect the ball football, this is a really good team because they also have a defense. They're only giving up 17.9 points a game, only 74.7 on the ground. The Cardinals want to establish the run game with Connor. If you take that away from them, you can try to bottle up Kyler Murray, keep him in the pocket. He can't throw the ball, but you want to take him out of his comfort zone, which is scrambling. Right now, I have Minnesota getting the win here. They have Jones. They have Justin Jefferson. They win this game, but it's a little higher scoring. They pull it off 30-24. And then at 1 p.m. on Fox, the 6-5 Seattle Seahawks. Seattle started out the season 3-0, kind of fell off since then. They've gone 3-5 since that good start, but this is a Jekyll Hyde team. They play really good, and then they have a bad game. They just had a good game, so you could say maybe they're due for the upset here. Right now, they're playing the 3-8 New York Jets. The Jets have a 53.6% chance to win this game, but it's Seattle that's the favorite. 2-point favorite. The over-under is 41.5. This game is all going to come down to Geno Smith. Geno Smith has just as many touchdowns as he has picks. Can Geno Smith play a clean game here, keep from turning the ball over? The Jets have a very good defense. If he plays clean football, they can win this game because they can't score. They are one of the highest passing teams in the NFL. They're averaging 22.4 points a game, throwing for 257.2, running for 89.1. They got to get the rush yards up. They are giving up 22.2 points a game. And for the New York Jets, Rodgers is playing smart football. He has a pretty decent wide receiver core, but they just cannot get things right on the field this season. They can't get everything clicking at the same time, the same game. They're averaging 18.5. Throwing for 207.2, running for 87.2, giving up 22 points a game. This is a very evenly matched game. This is an upset alert game. Seattle could easily drop this game. They have Walker, they have Smith, they have DK Metcalf. They have the better wide receiver core. And for the Jets, they have to get Breece Hall. They have to get Breece Hall going. They have to establish the run game. Rodgers wants to play smart football. You need a run game to do that. They have Wilson, Lazard. They have a healthy Devontae Adams. When he's healthy, he's the veteran that you look to on those third and long situations. I have the Jets getting the upset here. I'm going on a ledge. The Jets have burned me a couple times this season. That's just the way they are, a massively disappointing team. But I have them winning this one 23-17. They're bound to pull out one of these wins at some point. I have it coming this weekend. And our next game on CBS at 1 p.m., the 7-4 Chargers versus the 6-5 Atlanta Falcons. Right now, the Chargers 51.2% chance to win this game, and it's all based off of their defense. One of the best, the top 3 defense in the NFL. They can run the ball. They play defense. That is hardball football. Right now, they're averaging 22 points a game. Justin Herbert has shown the last few weeks, if you need him to get into a shootout, he's more than capable of doing that. They just haven't had too much this season, but it's there if you need it. The Falcons have the offense that this game could turn into a higher scoring game. Right now, the Chargers 2.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 47.5. They're throwing for 204.5. 118.5, running for 118.1. They're only giving up 15.9 points a game. That's a top 3 statistical defense. Defense does travel on the road. Right now, the Falcons, their offensive line is going to have to hold up because the Chargers are going to be looking to get a lot of pressure on Kirk Cousins, try to force some bad throws, try to get some turnovers. Right now, they're averaging 22.2. Throwing for 243.6, running for 117.9. Their defense gives up 24.9 points a game, but a loaded offensive roster. Cousins, Bijan Robinson, Algiers, Mooney, London, Pitts, multiple weapons, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. They are loaded, but are they going to be able to keep the ball out of the Chargers' hands? Are they going to be able to get enough first downs against that Chargers defense? And the Chargers expect a steady dose of J.K. Dobbins, and you have Ladd McConkey. He's really come on the last 3 to 4 games. I have the Chargers winning this one, 27-23, but this game is practically a pick-em. In the next matchup, we're looking at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 8-3 Pittsburgh Steelers, perfectly the team to follow up the Chargers. This team is built the same way. There's a Mike Tomlin team. They run the ball. They play defense. They win one-possession games. Every single game is always a one-possession, whether they win or lose. They'll be playing the 4-7 Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals really need a win. They cannot afford to drop to 4-8. Every game is a must-win game. They have to chip their way back to 500 and then surpass 500. They need a really long winning streak right now to have any shot to make the playoffs. Right now, the Bengals, 51% chance to win this game, 3-point favorite. The over here is 46.5. This game is practically a 50-50. This is also practically a pick-em. This is a defensively focused team versus an extremely offensively focused team. Right now for the Steelers, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's looked a little shaky the last few weeks. I have not been fully sold on him, but he does have a good team. They don't ask too much of him. Right now, they're averaging 22.9, throwing for 192.8, running for 135.2, but it's that defense only giving up 16.9 points a game. That's going to keep you in any game. Mike Tomlin, like I said, every game is a one-possession game. When it's a one-possession game, it could always come down to that final possession. Who has the ball last could be key. Someone could have a turnover here. That lone turnover could be what decides this game. And for the Bengals, they're averaging 27 points a game, throwing for 262.7, running for 91.5, and right now they give up 26.9 points a game. They give up a lot of points, but Burrow's lighting things up. He's closing in on 3,100 yards. He has 28 touchdowns, only 4 picks. They have Brown, Chase, Higgins. When their wide receiver core is healthy, it's really hard to compete with them. Look for a steady dose of Najee Harris. The Steelers are going to try to suck up clock, keep the game on the ground, dominate time of possession, and then you have Pickens for those third and long situations. But I'm going to go Bengals having just enough offense to pull this one off and win it 24-20. But it would not surprise me if the Steelers and their defense force a turnover fourth quarter. That's what wins in the game. But I'm going to go with the Bengals. Then on CBS at 1 p.m., the 5-7 Colts. Obviously, they benched Flacco. They've been back to Richardson for 2 games. I've been pretty harsh on Richardson. I've been saying since he came out of college, he's not an accurate passer. I don't think he's any more accurate. I'm still not sold on him. But they don't have a bad team by any means. They'll be playing the 3-9 Patriots. Right now, Drake May. Drake May has been playing a lot better for the last month, but will he be able to outduel Drake May? This is 2 young quarterbacks. This is the first-year guy. This is a second-year guy. Right now for the Colts, they're averaging 20.2. Throwing for 199.7, running for 116.7. What Richardson does with his legs could make the difference in this game. He might not be the best passer, but he definitely can extend plays, and he can run the ball. And they're also giving up 22.8. And for the Patriots, one of the worst offenses. They're averaging 16.4, throwing for 167.3, running for 112.8, and they're giving up 23.5 points a game. You have Richardson closing in on 1,500 yards. You have Jonathan Taylor. He's the X factor here. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball out the backfield. That is a quarterback's best friend, and they also have Pierce. And for the Patriots, they have Stevenson. They have Hunter Henry. I could see the Patriots pulling this game out. They are at home. Play good, clean football. Don't turn the ball over. Drake May doesn't have too many turnovers, but I'm going to go with Richardson and the Colts to win it on the road. They win this one in a close game, 21-18. And at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 3-8 Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are actually kind of a feisty team. They have a lot of really competitive one-possession games. They'll be playing the 7-5 Washington Commanders. The Commanders are riding a 3-game losing streak right now. They have to get things back on track. Every one of their losses has been a different problem. Sacks, turnovers, kicking. Something has always popped up every single game. Outside of that Hail Mary, they'd have a 4-game losing streak right now. But we know this team can move the ball. They are playing decent to average defense. They just got to get the offense back on track, keep those turnovers down. Right now, they have a 66.3% chance to win this game. 5.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 44.5. Tennessee, Rudolph, Levis had a great game this past weekend. They showed they are a competitive team, but I'm not buying that as being some permanent thing going forward. They have way too many turnovers. They're averaging 18.4, throwing for 183.7, running for 118. They give up 26.4 points a game. That's a really bad defense points-wise, but they're only giving up about 275 yards per game. The reason that they're giving up 26.4 points is because the offense keeps turning the ball over on their own side of the field, keeps putting the defense in really bad positions. If they play a clean game, they can win these type of games, but they have to play a clean game. And right now for Washington, one of the best offenses in the nation. They're averaging 27.8, throwing for 222.8, running for 147.8, giving up 23.1 points a game. They have Daniels. He's also the leading rusher, closing in on 600 yards on the ground, 17 total touchdowns, but they need the running game to step up. He can't be doing everything. They have Terry. They have decent weapons, but the offensive line has to hold up, and they got to keep the turnovers down. I have Washington ending the losing streak, getting things back on track. The offense click in this game. They win this one 27-20. In the next game at 4:05 p.m. on Fox, the 5-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they finally ended the losing streak. Got to win. They'll be playing the 3-8 Carolina Panthers. Carolina's actually playing really good football the last 3 weeks. Who would have known it? Bryce Young looks like a completely different quarterback since he came back as the starter. Right now, Tampa Bay is 68.7% chance to win this game. 6-point favorites here. The over-under is 46.5. Tampa Bay, very high-scoring team. It was a travesty. They lost Godwin. They lost Evans. Godwin was leading the NFL in receptions. He's out. They just got Mike Evans back, though, so they got a primary number one veteran wide receiver, someone that Baker Mayfield trusts that he can push the ball to, and Baker is having a really good year this season. Right now, they're averaging 28.1, one of the top 5 highest-scoring teams. They're throwing for 241.5 yards per game, running for 128, giving up 24.6 points a game. They do have some things to work on the defensive side, but they can score some points, and the Panthers give up a lot of points. Right now, they're averaging 17.6, throwing for 178, running for 107.7. They give up 30.9 points a game. The worst statistical defense in the NFL. The Bucs are going to love that. They want to keep the offense going. They want to keep that momentum going. Right now, they have Baker, they have Irving, they have Edwins, and for Carolina, Hubbard's having a really good season. Everyone knows he's going to run the ball, and yet he still continues to pick up yardage on the ground. That alone, they're playing better. They are a competitive team. They're no longer the worst team in the NFL. That is a feat there, because they've been pretty bad for the last few years. They make this game competitive first half. Bucs pull away second half. They win it 33-23. And then on Fox at 4:05, the 5-6 LA Rams. Don't sleep on the Rams. Don't underestimate them due to their 5-6 record. For a lot of those losses, they didn't have their fully healthy team. When they're healthy, we're talking about veteran, experienced Stafford, Williams, Cooper Kupp, Nakua, Atwell, multiple weapons for him to spread the ball out to. Now they're fully healthy. They can score with anyone. They'll be playing the 4-7 New Orleans Saints. They started out 2-0, lost 7 straight. They're riding a 2-game winning streak right now. They have some momentum going. They have a 51.6% chance to win this game, but the Rams are the favorites. 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 49.5. Right now, the Rams, with their weapons, the offensive stats are starting to go up. They're averaging 21.2, throwing for 236.7, running for 95.1. They got to get the rush yards up. They are giving up 25.1 points a game. Call it what it is. The defense is not good by any means. And for the Saints, they have a pretty good roster, but they never seem to have everything clicking on the same day at the same time. They're averaging 23.8, throwing for 216.6, running for 130.7, giving up 23.6 points a game. A lot of this game rests on Kamara. He's having a great season. 800 yards rushing, 500 yards receiving. This guy's putting up massive numbers. Carr has to play a clean game, and you want a healthy Olave. He can be the difference maker. I have the Rams, Williams, Kupp, Nakua, Atwell. It's the weapons that make the difference on the road. I have the Rams pulling this game out in a close one, winning it 23-20. And this next game is the game of the week on CBS at 4:25 p.m. The 9-2 Philadelphia Eagles playing really good football. Since the second half of last season, they had massive turnover problems. This season, they've completely erased that. They are playing no turnover football, and their defense has turned into one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. They'll be playing the 8-4 Baltimore Ravens, coming off of a massive win this past weekend. They showed they can line it up with an elite defense, and they are still going to get their points. Right now, the Ravens, a 58.4% chance to win this game, 3-point favorites. The over-under here is 50.5. This is the most 50-50 pick-em game this weekend. These are both playoff teams. These are two teams who have Super Bowl aspirations. Either one of these guys can win this game. I would not be surprised no matter who wins this game. Right now for the Eagles, Hurts playing really good football, non-turnover football, and he can run the ball. Please don't turn over the ball to the Ravens. The Ravens will make you pay. They have the number 2 offense in the NFL. If you turn it over, they will turn that turnover into points. Right now, the Eagles are averaging 26.7. They're throwing for 195.7. Don't forget, this is the 2 top rushing teams in the NFL. Number 1 Eagles versus number 2 Ravens, and the 2 leading running backs, Saquon Barkley, Henry. This is going to be a fun game. They're throwing for 195.7. They're running for 193.4. That's as balanced as it gets, and they're only giving up 18.1 points a game. Only 99 on the ground. Pretty good rush defense, but Baltimore has the number 2 rush offense. They're averaging 30.3. It's number 2 in the NFL, just behind the Lions. They're throwing for 246.5, running for 180.2, which is number 2. They gave up 24.5 points a game, so the Eagles have the edge on defense. Baltimore is kind of good at one thing and bad at one thing. They give up 278 passing yards per game, second worst in the NFL. There will be guys wide open down the field, but you cannot run on the Ravens. They're only giving up 77.9 yards per game on the ground. Both of these teams have really good rush defenses. The Ravens have an elite rush defense. It is strength on strength. It's rushing attack versus rushing defense. Who's going to win in the trenches? And these offensive rosters are loaded. For the Eagles, there's Hurts. Barkley's 8 yards shy of 1,400 yards. The guy could possibly get 2,000 rushing yards this season. They have A.J. Brown. They have Smith when he's healthy. And for the Ravens, they're also loaded. Lamar Jackson putting up MVP caliber numbers, throwing and running the ball. They have Derrick Henry closing in on 1,400 yards. Also, they have Flowers. They have Andrews. They have Likely. This game's going to come down to the very end of the fourth. Whoever has the ball last will win this game. I have Baltimore pulling off a close one, 31-28, but this game could go either way. And preseason, this next game would have been a really fun one on NBC at 8:20 p.m. There's a final Sunday night game, the 5-6 San Francisco 49ers. Who would have thought they would go to the NFL and then they'd be under 500 the very next season at the point of Week 13. They'll be playing the 9-2 Buffalo Bills. I would not want to have to play the Buffalo Bills right now at home. They are cruising on offense. They're cruising on defense. Right now, the Bills have a 61.3% chance to win this game. 7-point favorites. The over and here is 44.5. When the 49ers are fully healthy, the best top-to-bottom roster in the NFL. But that's the key. When they're fully healthy, they have yet to be healthy the entire season, not even anything close to it. Brock Purdy might be back this game, but I don't know if that's enough to get them over the finish line here on the road in Buffalo. Right now, San Francisco, they're averaging 23.6, throwing for 246.2, running for 138.4. They're giving up 23.6 points a game. And Buffalo's cruising, playing smart football. Josh Allen's not forcing things, taking whatever the defense gives him. They're averaging 29.1 points a game. That's a top 5 offense. They're throwing for 226.1, running for 119.2, and their defense is playing really good right now, only giving up 19.5 points a game. They get a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. If Brock Purdy does play, how healthy is he? Because they're going to be getting some hits on him. Right now for San Francisco, when they're healthy, Mason, McCaffrey, Purdy, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, Jennings, so many weapons, but they're just not healthy right now. Buffalo, they have Cook, Shakir, Coleman, and they have Cooper if he's healthy. He's the veteran for third down situations. Josh Allen also putting up MVP caliber numbers here. I have them pulling this one out, 26-17. And our final game, the Monday night game on ESPN, the 3-8 Cleveland Browns. Props to their win. Jameis Winston played a really tough game. Their defense held up. They'll be playing the 7-5 Denver Broncos. We know what the Broncos are good at. They have a really good defense. They're going to look to try to get as much pressure on Jameis Winston as possible. He's coming off a good game. With Jameis Winston, you know sometimes it's 50-50. He throws 3-4 touchdowns. Next game, he throws 3-4 picks. They're going to try to get him into one of those pick-type games this round. Try to get pressure on him. Try to force him into some errant throws. Right now, the Denver Broncos have a 51.8% chance to win this game. 5-point favorites. The over-under here is 41.5 for Cleveland. They're averaging 16.9. The best thing to happen to them this season, it sounds bad to say, was Deshaun Watson going down, because he was quite possibly the worst quarterback in the NFL. They're throwing for 204.3, running for 88.2, giving up 24.3, but they actually have a really good defense, but they've been on the field the entire game this season. They've just gotten wore out. But if Jameis Winston consistently gets first downs, you really see that defense starting to dial up pressure, start to play well. And for Denver, they're averaging 22 points a game, throwing for 201.9, running for 111.6. But it's that defense only giving up 16.8 points a game. That's a top 5 defense in the NFL. They have Williams. They have Sutton. Bo Nix playing to his strength. Dink and dunk, accurate passes, roll in the pocket, give him the option to scramble, Props to Sean Payton for changing the game plan. And for Cleveland, they have Ford, they have Judy. They don't have a bad roster. They have that defense. But I have Denver seizing this one at home, winning it 24-18. So that's our breakdown. That's all of our picks for our Week 13 NFL matchups. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments about these games or anything else, please drop it below and I will respond. Thank you.